The announcement of John Fealind as Donald Trump's nominee for Secretary of the Navy has sent shockwaves through American political discourse, even among Trump's most loyal supporters. Fealind, a Wall Street billionaire with no military experience, has been chosen for a role traditionally held by those with extensive military backgrounds. This nomination has raised significant concerns, questioning the prioritization of financial loyalty over qualifications and the competence necessary to lead a branch of the military. Trump's cabinet picks have always stirred debate, often involving figures with strong political connections or significant financial influence. However, this latest pick seems to go a step further, highlighting what critics see as an ongoing trend of cronyism, where political donations and business ties weigh more heavily than the expertise and experience typically required for such high-profile roles. The shock is not just coming from Trump's detractors, but also from his most ardent supporters who had hoped for a shift away from such practices in his second term. As we explore this contentious issue, we'll dive into who John Fealind is, why his appointment is stirring so much controversy, and what it means for Trump's political legacy and the future of American governance. The man behind the nomination. Who is John Fealind? John Fealind is not the typical candidate for a high-ranking position in the U.S. military. In fact, Fealind has no military experience whatsoever. Instead, he made his fortune on Wall Street, primarily working as a hedge fund manager. Fealind's rise to prominence in the business world has earned him millions, but his background in finance, rather than defense or military strategy, is what makes his nomination so shocking. What makes this appointment even more contentious is Fealind's deep ties to Donald Trump, both financially and politically. Over the years, Fealind has become one of Trump's most significant political donors. He reportedly donated over $800,000 to Trump's joint fundraising committee during the 2020 election cycle. Beyond just writing checks, Fealind has been involved in organizing major fundraising events for Trump's campaign. For instance, in the summer of 2024, he and his wife hosted a lavish fundraising dinner at their $38 million estate, where donors were asked to contribute between $25,000 and $500,000 per couple to attend. Despite his wealth and connections, Fealind's lack of military service has led many to question his qualifications for such a prestigious and critical role. The Secretary of the Navy is expected to understand the complex needs of the U.S. Navy, guide military strategy, and oversee its operations. With no background in the military, critics argue that Fealind may lack the necessary understanding to fulfill these demands effectively. Trump's track record: cronyism or business acumen. This isn't the first time Trump has appointed individuals with questionable qualifications to key positions in his administration. During his first term, Trump's cabinet was filled with individuals who, like Fealind, had close personal ties to him or were major donors. Some, like former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, were highly successful businessmen but had little to no experience in government. Others, such as Betsy DeVos, had strong political connections but were wholly unqualified for their roles in education and policy. The pattern of appointing loyalists and financial backers is indicative of a broader strategy Trump has employed throughout his political career, rewarding those who support him financially and politically, even when their qualifications don't match the roles they're being given. Critics argue that this undermines the integrity of the government and can lead to ineffective leadership, particularly in positions of national security. The appointment of John Fealind as Secretary of the Navy fits squarely within this mold. It's a classic case of cronyism, where personal loyalty and campaign donations appear to matter more than expertise or service to the country. This practice raises concerns about the long-term impact on the U.S. military, especially when key military leadership positions are filled by individuals who lack the necessary qualifications. The reaction: outrage from Trump's base. What makes Fealind's nomination especially notable is the backlash it has generated among Trump's own supporters. Typically, Trump's loyalists are known for unwavering support, regardless of his policies or actions. However, when the announcement of Fealind's appointment was made, Even some of his most devoted followers expressed frustration. Many took to social media platforms, including Twitter and Truth Social, to voice their concerns. Some felt that appointing a hedge fund billionaire with no military experience to such a critical position was a betrayal of Trump's promise to put America first. One supporter, posting under the handle @MAGAForever, said, "This makes zero sense. How is Trump naming a hedge fund guy as Secretary of the Navy? What the hell?" Others were equally upset, criticizing the decision as a clear example of rewarding cronies rather than prioritizing merit. Several vocal Trump supporters emphasized the importance of having a military leader at the helm of the Navy. As one Truth Social user put it, the Secretary of the Navy should be someone who served in the Navy, not some Wall Street billionaire with zero military experience. These concerns reflected deeper frustration with the idea that Trump may be prioritizing financial backers over the well-being of the nation's armed forces. Military leadership and civilian oversight, a debate on qualifications. Fealand's lack of military experience has sparked a broader debate about the qualifications required for high-ranking military positions. Some argue that having a civilian in charge of the military is not only acceptable but essential for maintaining civilian oversight of military affairs. Historically, the position of Secretary of the Navy has been held by civilians with various backgrounds, some with military experience, but many without. Advocates for civilian leadership argue that the role requires strong managerial skills and the ability to navigate the complex relationship between the military and government. Civilian leadership ensures that military decisions are made with a broader perspective, focused not just on defense but on the national interest and political considerations as well. However, many military veterans and defense experts believe that someone without military experience may struggle to understand the operational needs of the armed forces. As one veteran stated, "I want a sailor in charge of the Navy, not some businessman who's never served a day in uniform." These critics argue that without a deep understanding of military strategy, operations, and culture, an individual may struggle to effectively oversee a branch as large and complex as the U.S. Navy. The influence of megadonors, money, politics, and power. Fealand's appointment also highlights the growing influence of megadonors in American politics. The U.S. political system has long been shaped by the financial contributions of wealthy individuals, and Trump's campaign was no exception. Fealand's donation of over $800,000 is just one example of how money can buy influence in Washington. This influence extends beyond campaign contributions, as wealthy donors often receive political favors or appointments in exchange for their financial support. Critics of this system argue that it creates a political environment where the interests of the wealthy elite are prioritized over those of the general public. By appointing Fealind, Trump sends a clear message that political donations and personal relationships matter more than qualifications or merit. This has raised concerns about the long-term implications for democracy, with some fearing that the influence of money in politics may continue to erode the public's trust in the system. Senate confirmation. What's next for Fealand's nomination? Fealand's appointment is not final until it passes through the Senate confirmation process. This process is where the full weight of political maneuvering and partisanship comes into play. While Fealand's lack of military experience could be a point of contention, it's important to consider the political realities at play. Given Trump's strong hold over the Republican Party, it is likely that most GOP senators will support his nominee, especially considering Fealand's status as a major donor. Some Senate Democrats may oppose the nomination on the grounds of Fealand's qualifications, or lack thereof, but it is unlikely that they will have the votes to block it. The partisan divide in the Senate could lead to a scenario where even some Democrats are hesitant to oppose a well-connected, wealthy donor like Fealind, given the political ramifications of doing so. In the end, Fealand's confirmation seems highly probable, despite the controversy surrounding his appointment. This raises important questions about the role of the Senate in serving as a check on presidential appointments and the potential for partisanship to override merit-based decisions. The appointment of John Fealind as Secretary of the Navy serves as a microcosm of Donald Trump's political strategy, rewarding loyal supporters and donors with key positions of power, even when their qualifications are questionable. For Trump's most devoted fans, this nomination has been a wake-up call, as they realize that their leader's priorities may not align with the promises of change and reform that attracted them to him in the first place. Fealin's lack of military experience and his close ties to Trump's financial empire raise serious concerns about the future of the U.S. military and the integrity of American democracy. It also underscores the growing influence of money in politics, where the financial elite have a disproportionate amount of power over the nation's decisions.